Hi everyone, welcome to Getting Started with Moodle. In this short video, I will be showing you basic navigation or how to get around in your BVEC Moodle course. First, we will look at navigation. Second, submitting work. Third, frequent tasks such as checking instructions, communication, and checking scores. And fourth, we'll look at different types of content that you will experience in your course. All right, let's get started. The first part of our tour will focus on navigation. Once you have logged in to Moodle 2 using your computer username and password issued by the district, you will find this home page. One easy way to find your course is on the left-hand side over here. You'll see that there's a My Courses drop-down menu. And in the case of your teacher, there are many courses, but for most of you there are one or maybe two that you would select. Another way you can find your course is by looking underneath the Bulkley Valley Education Connection section, which shows the different categories of courses we teach online. And you could select, for example, Humanities and try to find your course there. Today we will be looking at Social Studies 10. So I will look in this list to see if I can find the Social Studies 10 course that I'm currently enrolled in. Luckily, this course is located near the top of the list, though occasionally you may have to scroll through one or two pages to find the course that you're looking for. I will select it by clicking on the link. Once you're in your course, you'll notice that there are lots of things to look at, but important for this section is the navigation block. The navigation block is this section located on the right-hand side, and it shows how to get around. It's basically a shorthand table of contents with links that you can use to get from one section of the course to the next. It will also show you important things like other participants in the course and maybe even other courses that you're taking through the BVEC. You can see right away here that in the case of this course there are 4 units, and if I click on the first one, a drop-down menu with all of the different sections, notes, assignments, learning guides, etc. for that unit will be listed here. You could then use this drop-down menu to select which portion of the course you want to click on. For example, if you wanted to go back to section 1.3, you could click to it here. Another way you could do this, though, which many students choose to do, is by scrolling. And you'll see if I scroll that I can actually view the entire course and all of the different units at one time. It'll show me, for example, how many sections are in each unit and whether or not there's a test or a major assignment or that the learning guide is due. One thing that this can be handy for is when you want to organize your time. So in the case of this course, 4 units with 5 sections each means that I probably want to take about 1 week per section so that I can finish comfortably within a semester. This does end up being a lot of scrolling. I would also recommend that when you're becoming oriented with your course, you pay close attention to the course outline, the overview, and the introductory assignments, as these are usually designed to help you become comfortable with the Moodle system and the coursework that you will be expected to do. One last thing I want to show you for navigation is how to dock the blocks that are located in your course. And this is something that I like to do because I prefer a visually clean website when I'm looking at it, and I find actually these navigation blocks a little bit distracting because they're not something that I want to see necessarily all the time. And if you see in the top right, there's a tiny little arrow, and if I hover my mouse over it, you'll see it says Dock Navigation Block. And what docking the block does is it actually hides it from this right-hand side, and it's going to put it over here on the left as a little menu that only pops up when I hover over it, and I find that is something I really prefer. You may not do that, but you might want to try it out to see how it works. So I will click on the Dock Navigation Block, and now you'll notice it's no longer located over here, but instead now it's over here. And if I want to use it, I just have to hover my mouse over top to navigate. I also like to do this with the administration block, as it's not something I'm regularly looking at. However, I really like to leave my course completion status up because that will show me exactly how many activities out of the total I've completed, which is a great way to keep track for myself of how I'm doing in terms of time in my course. Next, let's look at how to submit work once you've completed it. When you're working through your units, you'll notice this icon. It's a hand with a piece of paper, and this is usually called a drop box, but this is where you hand in your assignment. A handy icon. Anyway, you will click on the link beside the Dropbox icon. Once you're inside the assignment, you'll usually see a summary that reminds you which sections or which parts of the assignment you need to find and include when you're handing them in. It will also typically include a layout of how you're being marked, and sometimes there will be links to the different rubrics that I will be using when I mark your assignments. In order to submit an assignment, you should have saved it somewhere on your computer. It's really important that you know where it's saved because you will have to probably browse to find it. The first thing you can do is click on the Add Submission button. Later on, after this is added, you can also edit your submission. Let's click. In this particular example, you may submit a file or a folder. There are a few options. As you can see, you can drag and drop your files into the middle section here to add them, or you can click the page with a plus to add a file. Once you've clicked the Add File button, this file picker pop-up box will appear and will typically have you choose to upload a file. Sometimes this is not immediately clicked and you have to select it here on the right. In order to add an attachment, you will choose the file by browsing through your computer. If you have ever added an attachment to an email, this is basically the same thing. I'm going to choose a file to submit. As you can see, this opens up all of the different sections of my computer for me to choose, and I'm going to select a picture. Here I've got Lego Darth Vader, which I think will be an excellent assignment 1.1 file submission. I've double clicked it, and you can notice now the file name appears here. Sometimes you may choose to save this as assignment 1.1 with your name here. The author is listed as yourself, and you might say that this is Creative Commons. Typically you just leave it the way it is. And finally, you would select Upload this file. Once your file has been uploaded, it will appear in the File Submission section. At this point, you may choose to upload another file, or you may save changes. When you click Save Changes, this sends an email to me, your teacher, indicating that there is work that needs to be marked. Typically, I will mark your work within 1 or 2 days, hopefully no longer than 1 day. And you will receive an email back in your inbox with feedback and a link to check your grades. Now you can see that the submission status has changed to submitted for grading, but it has not yet been graded. You might also notice a comment that either I have left for you, or you might choose to leave a comment for me. As I mentioned earlier, you may choose to edit the submission, at which point you would click this button here. This might be a way to add another file if you forgot a part, or if you receive feedback that indicates you should make some changes to your assignment and resubmit, you would do it by clicking the Edit Submission button here. Our next portion of the video is going to look at frequent tasks, including checking instructions, communication, and checking your grades. Checking instructions can be easily completed once you've learned how to use the book icon. Books are where, in your Moodle course, the content that you will use for learning is generally contained. That means this is where you'll find the notes, videos, and instructions for the learning tasks that you will be doing. We can start by clicking on the Introductory unit for the Social Studies 10 course. In this particular book, you'll see that there are 4 chapters. The chapters are listed on the right under the table of contents. These are blue hyperlinks, which actually you can use to navigate between pages in the book. This is very handy when you get to books with many chapters and you want to go back to check the instructions for a particular assignment. Another way that you can click through the pages to read all of the instructions and notes is using these next arrows. When you get to the end of the book, you'll see that the arrow points up instead of to the side. Once we're in chapter 4, which is the last chapter in this particular book, as you can see, the arrow points up, which indicates that the book is completed and you can take that click back to the main course page. If you were working through section 1.1, you would, for example, click on this book. There are 7 chapters, each of which is listed over here under the table of contents. You can use these blue hyperlinks to click between chapters, or you can use these next arrows to navigate from page to page. This is really handy when you need to go back and check the instructions for a particular assignment. However, you might also find the assignments listed, as I showed you before, on the submission page. It's very important to make sure that you read all of the notes and that you're watching all of the videos and using all of the course materials as best you can. Sometimes when you're working through a section, you might find that you have questions that aren't answered in the written content or in the videos that you can view. One way you might want to deal with this is by contacting your teacher. One way we do this is we use the Moodle message system. And in this case, there are a few ways to get to messages. I like to use the link that's up by the username because it's always there, it's always visible. You can see when I click on this drop-down menu, I can link straight to my dashboard. I can edit my profile, which is how I can change my profile image. I can check my grades. I can also send messages. Once I've clicked on the messages, it takes me to my messages page. In this case, I don't have any contacts, which means if I want to find someone to send a message, I have to search for their name. This is where knowing the name of your teacher is really important. For example, I might want to search for my planning teacher, Mr. Forbes. I'm going to try searching his last name. Here I see Gary Forbes. So what I can do is I can click on the icon to send a message to Gary Forbes. I could also add him as a contact, check message history, or block him as a contact. But I'm going to, in this case, click on his name to send him a message. This is where I would type in the content and my questions, and I would send the message. Hopefully I would hear back from my teacher within the day, sometimes even faster. It's even possible on occasion to have instant message conversations with your teacher using the Moodle messaging system, provided that your teacher is online working at the time you send the message. If I didn't know my teacher's name, there's another way that I can find out. You might remember from earlier in the video that we docked the navigation block. And in the navigation block, if we click over here, one of the options for clicking is participants. This participants list will show all of the other students in your class at the same time. It also will list your teacher's name. So if you can't remember the spelling, for example, of Makura, you might click on the participants list, get to my name that way, and be able to send me a Moodle message. This participants list will also show my email address if you wanted to use a different email server to contact me. Finally, in frequent tasks, we're going to look at how to check your grades. For each assignment, once your grade has been submitted by the teacher, you will receive an email message that gives feedback and a link for you to check. However, if you want to check overall how you're doing, this is located under the administration block, which in this case I have docked on the left-hand side. If I hover my mouse over top, you'll see that grades is a hyperlink I can now click. The user report will show all of your assignments sorted by category. It will also show which ones you have finished and which ones you have not finished, and how much they're contributing to your course total mark. Important things to notice as I scroll down is that these are hyperlinks, so you can go back and look at those tests. You can look at these assignments, and over here you will see, if we look at the top of the column, the percentage that you achieved on the assignment as well as feedback. And this is, I would say, the most important thing for you to be looking at is the feedback. Sometimes I will write you paragraphs and paragraphs of feedback because often that's where so much of the learning in an online course happens. You might also need to click on the assignment in order to view uploaded files. Quite often I will use a paper copy of your assignment and I'll write some feedback on it, and then I'll scan a PDF and upload it. And this is where, if that happens, you will find it back at this main page. So once again, just to review, checking your grades, all of the assignments are categorized. It will show how you've done on the ones that you have completed, as well as listing the ones that you haven't finished yet. At the bottom, you'll be able to see your course total. And as I mentioned before, on this side near the end on the right, you will see the feedback. And sometimes you will need to click on the assignment title itself in order to access feedback files that I have uploaded for you to use. One of the attributes of online learning that I really value and I hope you take advantage of is the ability to rewrite assignments and to use the feedback for additional learning. When you're not in a classroom with other students, sometimes that feedback provides some of the most valuable instruction and learning that's going to happen for you. And I'm always willing to regrade if you are willing to put the effort in. Finally, we're going to look at the different kind of content that you might encounter in your Moodle course. From the user report for checking your grades, there's actually a very fast way to get back to the main course page that I wanted to show you. This little section up at the top is called the breadcrumb trail, which as an English teacher I really like because it's a nice little literary allusion to Hansel and Gretel. These are often hyperlinked. If you see that hand show up and the underline appear, that means that you can click on it and go there. So I often will navigate using the breadcrumb trail to get back to the main course page, so I'm not using my browser back arrows over and over again. For this section, I wanted to show you some of the different content you'll be viewing, and the icons are the way that we show this. You'll notice here there's a PDF icon, which is for the course outline. You might see this for other assignment files, things like the Unit 1 Learning Guide. This, just a page, is a single file that you would read. The book icon you'll probably remember we already looked at, and it means it has multiple pages of content. That means we're looking at text, we're looking at videos, sometimes we're looking at interactive animations, and all of them are housed within one section of the book. We talked already about the drop boxes, the little hand for handing things in. Sometimes in your courses you'll see the page with a check mark. These are quizzes, and occasionally you will actually need to contact me using, can you remember? Top right, up by your name, drop down menu, messages. You may have to contact me using messages to get a password for a quiz or a test. Typically when it's a test, you'll have to come to the classroom to write it or have someone else arrange to invigilate, and again for that you'll have to send me a message. We'll have to be in communication. Some details in terms of your own content. When you're submitting files, it's easiest for me if they're submitted as a PDF or as a document, a .doc or .docx. I know some of you work with Apple computers and want to save things as pages files, but it's much easier for me if you save them as a .doc. And if you need some help with that, I can show you. I also get people asking quite often how far they are through the course. And that is here located on the right hand side in the course completion block. You'll also notice these little boxes, and once you've completed and have something graded, check marks will show up. So you'll be able to easily scroll through the assignments and see which ones are done and which ones are not finished. Thanks for joining me in Getting Started with Moodle, your basic navigation in the BVEC Moodle coursework. Today we looked at navigation, submitting work, frequent tasks, and content. If you have any further questions or would like some further help one-on-one in person, please come visit me in room 102 or contact me through the Moodle messaging and we'll arrange another way to meet. Thanks very much and good luck getting started.